Hey guys, it's Penguin here, and welcome back to another gold making video. And whoa, Penguin, what in the world? You are uploading on a Monday. This is a day early, but I'm super excited with all of the information we have about 10.1, so I couldn't wait, and we're going to talk about it in today's video. Now, of course, if you guys are new here, keep in mind I am a gold making channel, so in today's video, we're going to be focusing on the new recipes and crafting systems coming to 10.1. We're not really going to discuss the new zone, the new raid, anything like that. Also, just a second disclaimer, if you're from the far, far future, this is recorded during the first PTR release of 10.1. Many things are still placeholders, many things are a little bit unknown, but all of the basics should be here. So if you notice name changes or anything like that, that's to be expected. But without further ado, let's dive right into it. And so the thing I really want to highlight in today's video is the new Spark and Crest system. This will make sense in just a little bit, and then at the end of this video, I will be highlighting all of the individual recipes. But like I mentioned, there is a new Spark and Crest system, and I think the best way to showcase this is to simply just show you. So right here, we're going to open up our tailoring menu, and let's try to craft ourselves an epic piece of gear. I'm going to click on this one right here, and many of you, especially if you are a tailor and craft a lot of these items, probably notice something right away. If you don't, I'll put a current picture of the current recipe on live, and you probably have realized it. The BOP materials that used to be required, the Spark and the Primal Chaos, are actually gone. And this brings us to our first major change. Firstly, the Primal Chaos themselves are completely removed. Primal Chaos actually turn into a gray legacy item right here in 10.1, so then you can simply just vendor them. So if anybody out there is hoarding Primal Chaos, you might as well just use it because it's becoming useless. But if we look right next to these Primal Chaos, you will notice the Spark, and it is still a usable item, but it's not showcased in the base recipe anymore, and that is because there is a brand new Spark for Season 2 and 10.1. What they have done is added a brand new optional reagent spot that is called the Spark, which allows you to choose which one you want to use in your crafting. What this does is just change the basic item level of the item. So right now, if we wanted to just create a traditional shawl like we see on live, we would just select a Spark of Ingenuity. This would be set to Season 1, and it would create an item anywhere from 382 all the way up to item level 395, just like it does now. But in 10.1, you know, item levels are going higher, and that is where the Spark of Shadow Flame goes in. What this does is just set the piece of gear to Season 2, and that basic item level goes from 411 to 424, so it is quite the upgrade. Now, a quick disclaimer, I assume they will probably do some sort of UI change because right now it's a little bit funky, but you guys have probably noticed, wait, you know, Sparks are optional now. Can I simply just craft this piece of gear for 6 spool and 8 bolts? I even have the create button. I can even hit create, but sadly, that's not how this works. As you guys can see, the item is not produced, so the Spark is still required, but you can just choose which one. Now, I do not have any of the Season 2 Sparks on me. Currently, we're not exactly sure how to get these. I imagine it's a questline or some sort of time-gated feature, just like before. Actually, we do have a little bit more information about the Spark. Currently, we know that you actually craft this item with 2 different items. You need 1 splintered Spark of Shadow Flame, which I'm not exactly sure how to get that part, and then you need 2 Drake's Shadow Flame Crest. In terms of this item, I will be going over Crest in just a little bit, and that applies, and it also seems like it drops from 3 different quest lines, which I would imagine you start at the start of 10.1. Once again, we're not exactly sure, but that is a little bit more information. But if we select the basic Spark, then hit create, this will actually produce us an item. There we go, I recreated a piece. As you guys will notice, it says Season 1, it's item level 391, and that is because it is a quality 4 piece. And alright Penguin, that is pretty cool, but what if I want to upgrade this item level? right? Currently we have Primal Infusions, we have the concentrated Primal Infusions, and that only goes so high. So what if I want to produce the best quality of gear for Season 2? And just like we have a Spark replacement, we have a brand new emplacement for these Infusions. But enchanters get super excited because these actually have to be crafted by professions, unlike before. Currently, if you want to craft yourself a Primal Infusion or a concentrated Primal Infusion, what you have to do is go out, do some dungeons, you get some Primal Chaos, and the concentrated pieces, you right-click them in your inventory, and you're good to go. Then you can just find yourself a Jewel Crafter if you want an Elemental Lariat, and boom. Now in 10.1, good news for us crafters, bad news for the other players, you actually have to get that middle step crafted. So thankfully I am on my enchanter, but if we scroll down, you will notice a brand new category called Infusions of Power. And so there are 4 different infusions, but likely 2 of them will be way more in demand than the others. The first infusion that we have is just the upgraded Titan Matrix. This is applied to blue or rare equipment, which is why I don't think it's going to be super sought after, but this raises a blue piece of gear all the way to item level 395. Following that same thing, you have your upgraded crest. This is an epic quality crest, but it still applies to blue gear, and this will bring the item level all the way up to 408. Then we have the direct replacements for the current Primal Infusions, and the first one is the Enchanted Worm's Crest. This is the direct replacement of the current Primal Infusion. It has a recipe difficulty of +30, it's applied to the epic equipment, and it will bring item level all the way up to 437. Then lastly, you have the concentrated replacement, which is the Aspect's Crest, and this will bring the item level of crafted gear all the way to 447. Now, like I said, this is early PTR, but Soul So Breezy put together a chart comparing all of the different item levels, and currently, if I remember correctly, I'll put a screenshot on screen, this is the equivalent of a +20 mythic dungeon. So this is actually very, very competitive. And this is where I want to quickly pause and probably say what everybody is thinking. Enchanters are finally going to be in demand in the work order system. Many of times, there's really no reason for people to ask enchanters for work orders unless you just want like a cheap pet or a cheap illusionary good, but this is finally something that people are going to want. We know what happened with the Lariat craze, we know what happened with any sort of piece of crafted gear, and all of those people, assuming they're not enchanters themselves, are going to need to find an enchanter to actually craft this optional reagent so they can attach it to their high-level gear. Now, another question people are asking, how do you get this recipe? And sadly, that is just an unknown. Currently, there is no indicator of where it comes from. Who knows, it might be a Lariat situation again where it's a rare drop, it might come from reputation, it might just be something from a questline, from the trainer. We don't really know. Depending on what they do decide, that will definitely change, how much gold you can make from these, but these are definitely going to be in demand for enchanters. And so yeah, this new system really answers a lot of people's questions, which was, are we getting brand new sets of gear? Are all of our old gear becoming useless? Or are we just going to upgrade them? And so now we know we're just going to upgrade. Like I said, I don't actually have any of the new sparks in my inventory, but what people are basically going to be doing is sending in these recrafting orders to a crafter, changing out the spark, and of course applying an infusion if they have one, and then of course hoping for the highest quality. In terms of the crafter side of things, you will notice that the concentrated primal infusion and the high aspect crest has the same plus recipe difficulty, same as the other lower version, so as a crafter there's no new specialization trees, so you shouldn't have any issues in terms of producing high quality, but that's a heads up as well. Now, before we completely move on from this system, I do want to talk about the crest system as a whole. I know we're focusing on crafting, but I think it's important to figure out how these are actually gathered. How it works is that in patch 10.1, players will collect these different looted crests as they complete content. The crest that they get depends on the level content that they do. Now this is just an example, this is not exact numbers, but somebody who runs a Mythic +10 might be rewarded with the Worm's Crest, while somebody who does a Mythic +20 might be rewarded with the Aspects. So, the higher content you do, the higher type of crest you're going to get. In terms of time gating, Blizz has mentioned that at the start of release, players will get about 10 of each crest per week. However, as weeks go on, that number will get higher and higher, so it will get easier as time goes on. Once a player has these looted crests, they can either use it to upgrade hero gear, which is a non-crafted gear, or they can take it to an enchanter to turn it into the enchanted version, and then it will of course be the optional reagent for their crafted gear. So not everybody may turn their crest into enchanted, but anybody who is upgrading crafted gear is going to have to do that step. So that is kind of how this crest system works, and we can finally move on to other parts of 10.1. And believe it or not, as somebody who doesn't really do anything with crafting orders, to be honest, I don't do anything besides complete my weeklies, I am very excited for the new PvP gear. As you guys know, currently we have the Crimson Combatant gear, which does really well, especially on my server, and so in 10.1, we're getting a whole new lineup of Obsidian Combatant gear. It currently has the exact same recipe as the old ones, and really the only difference is the item level increase. This is now a basic 366 eye level piece of gear, and raises all the way to 424 in arenas and battlegrounds. So many of you probably remember how lucrative this was as a gold making aspect at the start of launch, and I will imagine this will be very good in Season 2 as well. Also, even if it doesn't perform that well, this is a ton more free knowledge points. So all tailors, blacksmiths, leatherworkers, jewel crafters, and scribes will definitely want to be on lookout for these new recipes. Great opportunity for knowledge points and some extra gold. Now lastly, for crafted gear, there are a handful of new recipes. They all kind of fit in the Spore theme of 10.1. I will have them listed on screen. There's only about 6 recipes, kind of spread out between all professions, so these are something you can look at. They all have their unique abilities, but nothing super exciting. Moving away from crafted gear, we have a whole new set of Inscription cosmetics. Because we're getting a new dragon riding mount in 10.1, we of course are going to want some dragon riding glyphs, and so scribes are going to be a part of that. There are currently 5 new glyphs for that drake. Then, kicking it old school, they are bringing back the traditional glyphs, and so there is a new glyph for the demon hunter and the warrior. This seems pretty random at first, but these both affect the ability to throw their weapon, so I guess it does make sense, but I honestly wish these were cool evoker glyphs. Up next, we do have new embellishments, so to go along with the new gear and upgrading your gear, you can also upgrade your embellishments if you're excited about them. I can't really speak much about them, many of them are still placeholders, like you can see, some of them don't even have text, but they do exist, and so that is pretty exciting. And there's many more just random recipes. I'm going to spend the next minute or so kind of just showcasing everything on screen. But for example, for tailoring, we're getting a new bandage. It seems like we're getting some sort of new toy. We also are getting another banner. Then for blacksmithing, on top of the new pieces of gear, we're also getting a new alloy, a new belt buckle, which seems to be some sort of enhancement. And then lastly, the ring, which might be a toy. Moving back over to scribes, we have a new rune, which seems like it will be a new weapon rune. Of course, we have a contract for the new reputation. We have a new Vantis rune, and of course, all the cosmetics. Then enchanting, of course, is getting all of the love for the new infusions, but it also has a new adornment of spores to kind of go with all of the new system, as well as that weapon. Cooking is getting 2 random recipes, and then engineering is also getting some more bombs, getting a cannon, which seems to be a toy, and finally a new tinker module. Alchemy feeling the love slightly as well. It has a new random potion, it has a new transmute for a new type of item, and then also 2 new cauldrons. Then we have leatherworking, which has some of the pieces we already mentioned, also a new armor kit, which from my experience people seem to be excited about, but as a gold maker I have to admit I can't really tell if that's going to be useful or not. You guys let me know. And then lastly, but not least, we have Jewel Crafting, which of course have those 2 embellishments that we're not exactly sure what they will do, and then finally, a toy. But yeah guys, that is currently all we know about the current PTR of 10.1. Of course, this is still early stages, so many things can change. There's a lot of unanswered questions, but hopefully this can get you excited. What I would say to kind of wrap this up is if you guys are holding on to Sparks or Primal Chaos for kind of a rainy day, I would say go ahead and use them. Especially if you have a character like a leatherworker who hasn't hit their max profession, you might as well use those resources to max it out now because you're going to be dealing with new resources in the future, and also Primal Chaos will just become a vendor item anyways. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I'll try to answer them the best to my ability, and also let me know if you're excited about any of this. Guys, thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate it, and as always, have a good day.